Darold Gleason, Elite Series Pro, out here on Grand Lake today. Just got here practicing for a tournament. Going to be throwing some topwaters. We're here in early fall, and just topwaters are a great way to cover some water. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the when I throw certain baits, the why I throw certain baits, and obviously going to talk about a few of the Falcon rods that I choose for those techniques. Let's see what we can do. Can't tell if that's a very good one. I don't think he's very big, but when he bit, it looked like a whole bunch of them took off. A whole bunch of something. Yeah, it's just a little guy. Maybe a little keeper though. Little fat guy. The good part there is he got a whole bunch of hooks in him, so generally we get those in the boat. It's a good little bite, little chunker, probably close to a 14-incher, not real big obviously, but just starting off like this little walking bait this morning. Actually throwing a vixen up here, and that's a real popular bait on this lake, so just trying to cover some water and get a feel for what's going on. We've had I think the second cold front of the year or so. It's in the 50s this morning, so this is at summer's probably almost over. Early fall pattern. Of course, we're in the south, so it might be 100 degrees next week, but you know, just something to cover water early on and just try to get a feel for what we're doing out here. To me, early fall is a lot like spring. It changes very rapidly every day, so it doesn't matter what you were doing last week, you got to stay on your toes. So haven't been to Grand Lake in quite a while, so for me, I want to start off just simple. Look for feeding fish, rocky banks, topwater, and kind of just see where the day goes from there. But so far, seen a lot of activity. That was a decent little bite right there. Only been out here 15 minutes or so. So we're gonna run with this, try to cover a little water and see if we can get around some more active fish. There we go. I think it's a little 14-incher, little keeper. The sun's getting up a little bit. You're kind of thinking like maybe there was a group of fish around these rocks and they're kind of pulling out, chasing bait. So just trying to put it together. It's all part of it here. Let's let this one go. When you got limited days of practice, each day you got to learn something. So you got to whether it's learn to get bit or learn to locate some fish. And so, you know, I may get 1 or 2 bites here on a shaky head today, and then, you know, 3 or 4 days from now, I might can throw a square bill through here or topwater when the fish are a little more aggressive. But when you're practicing for a tournament, you have limited days. Each day you have to learn something that's going to help you for the next few days. So, I don't know, you just got to stay really open-minded and try a variety of things. It's okay to bust out the shaky head today and get some action, and on game day you fish more like a man. You know, you might throw a finesse jig in there or something like that. But just based on today's conditions, you know, I can't stay in the camper and not learn something that's going to help me prepare for the tournament. So we just got to keep them honest when you think you're on a pretty good spot. You feel like there's some fish around. It's really good cover here. With the lake being down, there's not a ton of cover in the water. So a little rocky bank like this with some willows and stuff with still a little water around them, it's a great place for fish to be early in the morning. And this little point extends in the lake some, so it would make sense to me in my mind that a few fish would be out here on this, and you can throw a shaky head, get a few bites. All right, so one of the big questions that I always get asked, and I used to ponder myself as I watch pro anglers go all over the country and catch them, is how do you break down a new lake or a big lake? Where do you start? So, you know, obviously it's different for each season, but you know, we're here early fall, a little cool. So I'm thinking the fish are coming off the main lake, headed toward the big creeks, working their way back. So you'll bounce around, check different stuff, but generally that's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking at one of the major creeks today, and I'm kind of focused right now on the main lake, seeing if we can figure out, you know, which section of the creek they're in. So this particular creek has a lot of wood in the water, a lot of little rocky points, a lot of different types of rocks. There's a lot of variety for me to check out to see where they're at. And what I'll do is I'll start right here, right now I'm on the main lake near an island, and I'm fishing small points, small pockets, just trying to locate, get around some bait fish and see where the bait is. this time of the year, like being around bait can be just so crucial. And when you haven't been to a lake in a while, it takes you a while to figure out where it's at. So you got to hop around a little bit. So we're starting on the main lake, running these little pockets and points, just kind of see what feedback we get. And from there, we'll start working our way further back in the creek. That was a better bite though. Seems like the little ones always bite it like that. I don't want to wear hooks home. We're just gonna get the pliers or him. Let's not take a chance. Again, not very much. Everyone tells you a little something. I like that he bit it a little better. So maybe the sun being up, like we're getting a little bit more past the cold morning or whatever. So maybe they're gonna get a little more active. But sometimes the little ones will mislead you and make you think like something's happening and you just got it in front of a little crazy one. So let's kind of see what happens. All right, got him that time. There we go. All right, that's a better fish. I don't know what we did without power poles prior, but able to put my poles down there and make a few casts, kind of fan cast around, and was able to get this dude to bite that had just bit, where otherwise, I think if I'd have trolled through here, it's so shallow, you know, like it would have really alerted him. Now look, fish is not hooked very good, barely got it. So that tells us some stuff right there. That's a nice fish. Good chunky one, good keeper. Probably 2 1/4 pounds, something like that. But that tells us a little bit there, like the way he barely got it down here, he come up and kind of slashed at it. So we got a reaction strike from him, and thank God we got good sharp hooks on there and was able to get him in the boat. But for me, a lot of times, that's why I'm throwing like that softer tip jerkbait rod. It's a 6/8 Falcon Cara. That softer tip, a lot of times on a topwater, it allows them to load and get that hook and load and not tear it out. If your rod's a little too stiff, when they slash it like that and pull, instead of your rod bending, it'll just rip the hook right out. So especially when you're throwing braided line on topwater. So let's get that one back. Let's get us another one. All right, buddy. Thank you, man. So far this morning, it seemed like the few bites we've had been more on like windy style banks. Doesn't matter if the sun's on it or not. The ones we did get bit on, actually the suns were on. The sun was shining really bright on. But so like one tip I do, and I just tell everybody, you got to find your own way of doing things in fishing. It's great to watch videos and you pick up stuff, but you got to look at it like a buffet. Like you're not going to like everything on the buffet. So you're going to take little snippets. But one thing that I have found that works for me, really with any pattern, it's not just that I got bit on some windy banks. I still, since I'm practicing, sometimes by doing the wrong thing, like in this case, I'm fishing a really calm bank, has some shade on it. So in my mind, it's a good shady bank, little tree, like you could get bit. But even if I don't, it's still driving me toward the right pattern, which so far has been the windier banks. So sometimes instead of just running a whole bunch of windy banks and trying to get bites, in practice, early especially, like first couple days, I'll still try some of the calm banks. If it's shade, you know, if it feels right, I'll try it. And even by eliminating bad water or bad areas, it's still driving you closer to fish. So, you know, a lot of times we think the only way you learn is by catching. And a lot of times in practice, you know, as we travel around the country and fish these new lakes, you don't get bites every single place you go. So you got to filter the information the best you can. So if I don't get bit on this shady bank, I'll be able to start going and running more windy banks and having more confidence that the wind is really the deal, not necessarily the shade and the calm. So just something to keep in mind. Oh, there's one. It's a nice one. See how we got that rod bent like that? That's why we're throwing that jerkbait rod right there. Hopefully it won't come off. Stay on, buddy. Oh, good fish. That's a spotted bass. Get in here, dude. All right, that's a nice spot. That's a fat little spotted bass. They're never that fat on tournament day. So that jerkbait rod we've been throwing all day on this topwater, it just, the action, the way it bends on it, it helps you when you get these fish to make sure that it's loading that rod and they're not going to pull loose. It just ups your odds. Let me get the pliers on this guy. Just ups your odds of not losing those fish, you know, especially on topwater when they go to fighting and pulling real hard. That's a fat little spotted bass, dude. Look at that little dude. All right, let's get him back. So like I say on the rod, it's got that great action, bends a ton. And remember, I'm using light braid on this. I like that light braid so I can make long casts. You kind of drive the hook home, and then the combo of that rod bend is what really like ups your landing percentage. So that combo is like key to me in my topwater fishing, especially with a walking bait, because a lot of times you're making long casts. You want that, I don't want monofilament, I don't want stretch. So the rod kind of makes up for my stretch. So try that out, see if that helps you out in your topwater fishing. Bet it does. So we're gonna close out today with that fish there. It was a nice bite to end on. Didn't get a ton of bites today, but typical for this time of the year, you know, like an hour from now, they may go crazy. But when you're throwing your topwaters, make sure you're choosing a rod that matches them. Hope you guys enjoy this. If you'd like to check out Falcon's selection, go to falconrods.com, check out all their rods, all their actions. They got something that'll fit every need you have.